Every Roman road ran on a debt Rome itself never paid. 50,000 miles moved soldiers, tax, orders, and grain on schedule. But the empire built no inns, no granaries along the way. Instead, it passed a law. Villages had to feed and house anyone carrying the right permit, on demand, free. Speed was somebody else's bill. The road runs straight. That is the first thing you notice. Not the width, not the paving, but the insistence of the line, cutting through hill and marsh and forest without apology. From Britain to the Tigris, from the Danube to the edge of the Sahara, the Roman road network reached across every province the empire held. The question is not whether Roman roads were impressive. The question is what they actually did, and at what cost, and to whom. Here is the turn this episode tests. Roman roads did not conquer distance. They converted it into something a state could schedule, tax, and govern. And that conversion, not raw mileage, is the achievement worth measuring. This is empire-scale Rome in the 2nd century CE, the Antonine peak, when the network was as complete and as heavily used as it would ever be. Popular history gives the network a single number, tens of thousands of miles, and moves on. The figure that matters more is narrower. The paved, state-engineered public road ran to something over 50,000 miles, worked from itineraries and surviving milestones rather than any ancient census. Total route mileage, including unpaved tracks and military paths, varies widely depending on how a road is even defined. At the network's symbolic center stood the Miliarium Aureum, the gilded milestone in the Roman Forum from which the roads were understood to radiate. Whether as a literal measuring origin or primarily a monument is debated. None of it was free. Tolls were collected at bridges and city gates, documented in legal sources and administrative records. Somewhere on the Via Egnatia in the 130s CE, a mancio keeper holds a lamp to read a document. It is an official's diploma, a travel permit issued by the imperial administration. The permit compels him fresh mules, fodder, a night's lodging, grain. Whether reimbursement arrives is another matter. He has seen permits before. He knows what they cost him. We will return to him. The physical road came first. State surveyors preferred the straight line where terrain allowed, cutting through obstacles rather than around them. Legions and conscripted labor, corvée drawn from local populations, laid the foundation. Layers of stone and gravel, a cambered surface to shed water, a profile engineered to last under heavy use. Milestones marked distances and named the emperor who built or repaired that stretch. The Cursus Publicus was an imperial transport permit system. It turned the physical road network into a working bureaucracy. At intervals along the major arteries, mutationes provided fresh animals. Mansiones provided overnight stops. An official carrying a diploma presented it at each station and received what the permit specified: animals, fodder, lodging, triggering a legally compelled exchange. The relay chain moved messages, tax records, military orders, and officials across provinces at a controlled and measurable speed. The financing was not drawn from a central budget. It was extracted from the communities the road passed through, compelled to provision a system whose permits were issued far away. Imperial messengers on major arteries covered between 50 and 80 miles in a day, a figure consistent across itineraries and imperial correspondence. For antiquity, it was fast. Set it against the grain ships running from Alexandria to Ostia, each vessel carrying hundreds of tons of Egyptian wheat in a single voyage, and the road's freight capacity looks trivial. A road wagon moved a fraction of what a ship's hold carried, at far greater cost per unit of weight. The disproportion is structural, not accidental. The road moved authority and information. The sea moved bulk. For the official with a diploma, the road meant reach and speed. For the village beside it, the road meant a standing obligation to feed strangers carrying state permits. That obligation is where the achievement reveals its cost. The Cursus Publicus was explicitly restricted to permit holders, officials, imperial messengers, requisitioned goods. How much ordinary commercial traffic used the paved public road rather than cheaper water routes is genuinely debated. The evidence for day-to-day commercial movement on the roads is scattered and indirect. The Mancio keeper on the Via Ignacia, holding that lamp, was not a beneficiary of the network. He was one of its costs. The Cursus Publicus permit system is documented in imperial correspondence and legal sources. Milestones survive in large numbers and record distances, builders, and the emperors who ordered repairs. The provisioning burden on local communities is attested in petitions and rescripts, complaints that reach the imperial administration from communities ground down by the obligation. Daily travel speeds for the post are reconstructed from itineraries not directly recorded. What remains open is how much ordinary commercial trade moved by road rather than by cheaper water routes. The evidence for everyday road traffic is scattered and indirect. Roman roads did not abolish distance. They converted it into something the state could schedule, tax, and govern. The bill for that conversion was paid by the communities the roads passed through, in animals, in fodder, in grain, in the labor that laid the stones. The network's achievement was administrative, not merely engineering. It made the empire's geography legible to the people who ran it. The roads needed builders. The builders were soldiers. But what the Roman army actually spent most of its time doing is not what most people think.